What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of RBT Resistance Band Training. I'm James Grage, and today we're going to be talking about pull-ups, using resistance bands for assisted pull-ups. Now, I'm about the biggest advocate you're ever going to find for resistance bands, but when it comes to getting better at pull-ups, which is ultimately the goal, that's why we're using bands, is because we can't do as many pull-ups as we want to, so we're using the bands to assist us. But if you want to get better at pull-ups, just using bands to assist you is not the best or the fastest way to get better at pull-ups. So I'm going to give you some tips today, some strategies of how to actually get better at doing pull-ups. So be prepared here. This is a real workout. You're going to be sore tomorrow, so maybe you might want to actually designate this as your back day because this is a full back workout. So be ready. Let's jump into it. All right, so I'd love to be out at the beach today or the park today on the pull-up bar, but the weather's bad, so we're not gonna make excuses. So we're here in the Undersun studio, and I actually have a pull-up bar behind this little kind of fake prop door. See one of these bars right here? You can pick these up anywhere. You can pick them up at sporting goods stores, pick them up on Amazon. I've even seen them at Walmart. Here's the one thing that I caution you on though. Make sure you get the kind, these actually behind these plates have screws, not just the kind that you twist on the pressure plate. Those are actually dangerous. You think that they're securely in there, but it doesn't take much to hang on that bar and have that come crashing down on you. So make sure that's screwed into the doorway. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just for now gonna take our band and I'm gonna tie it up here. If you've never done assisted pull-ups before, what you do is you just run the band around and you run it right through itself. It's the same way that we anchor the band when we're doing any kind of resistance bands exercises. So that's our starting position. We're gonna leave the band hanging there because we're not gonna use it yet. We're gonna use this at the very end. We're gonna jump into some other exercises here to get you better at pull-ups. So the first one, and this seems like a really simple one, we're gonna be doing some active hangs. Well, why is that? Well, think about this for a second. Even if you only wanna do 10 pull-ups, maybe your goal is to do 20, but let's start with 10. If your goal is to do 10 pull-ups, on your concentric or your pull towards the top, that's gonna take at least 1 second. And as you go down, your eccentric or your negative, that's gonna take at least another second. So that's 2 seconds per rep. Now think about this, multiply that by 10 reps, that's 20 seconds. Now most people don't think that hanging on a bar for 20 seconds is a long time, but you'd be surprised, a lot of people, their biggest weakness in the very beginning when learning to do pull-ups is their grip strength. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna practice what's called an active hang. And I'm gonna show you the right technique because it's not just hanging on the bar. And let me explain, I'll actually demonstrate. So we'll come to the bar, go ahead and take a little bit wider than shoulder width grip here. And what I mean by an active hang is we're gonna take control over our shoulders here. Here's what just a completely passive hang looks like. And you see this, I'm all stretched out here. You don't want to be in this position when you're doing pull-ups, to go from here all the way back up to here. So what we want to learn is we want to learn an active hang because this is going to be the bottom of your range of motion for every one of your reps. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to show you the difference. So here's a passive hang. Now here is engaging our scapula, pulling our shoulder blades back and down. So this is an active hang. So what we're gonna be doing here is I want you to practice doing active hangs for 20 seconds. We're gonna do 3 sets of 20 seconds. Why 20 seconds? Well, I already told you, if you wanna do 10 pull-ups, that means you're gonna be hanging for at least 20 seconds. So we need to learn to hang here. We also, at the same time, need to practice engaging our scapula because one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're doing pull-ups is they use all arms. It's all biceps. If you look at this right here, I haven't engaged any of the muscles in my back. This is all arms. So your back is a very powerful muscle. So you want to use those muscles when you're doing your pull-ups. And to do that, you need to engage your scapula and you need to engage your lats. So this is step number 1. So first, here's what a passive hang looks like. There's active. So I'm activated right there. My scapula is pulled back. So we're going to hold this for 20 seconds. Now, 3 sets of those. Once you've gone through 3 sets at 20 seconds apiece, and you can do that no problem, then we can move on to step number 2. All right, so we're gonna move on to step number 2, and we're gonna go from passive hangs to active hangs. Looks just like what we did before, but now we're doing it for reps. So we're gonna do 2 sets. I don't wanna do 3 because I don't wanna burn you out because we've got some other steps here. We're gonna do 2 sets of 10 reps apiece, going from a passive to an active hang, which is gonna look like this. Now notice, my arms aren't bending. I'm not using my biceps, not using my arms. This is all in my scapula. You notice how much movement we can get in our body without using our arms as well. So what this is doing, it's teaching you to really engage your lats, engage your scapula there. Because again, like I said, most people are just trying to arm it when they're doing pull-ups. So that is step number 2, doing 2 sets of 10 reps from a passive to an active hang. All right, step number 3. So what I've got in my hand right here, this is a medium-sized band. And what we're gonna do is an exercise to teach you how to learn to pull the right way. And when I say the right way, let me first tell you what the wrong way is. What I see most people do, whether they're doing pull-ups or whether they're doing lat pull-downs, is they're putting a lot of focus on their hands. And when you focus on your hands, you have a tendency to pull with your arms as opposed to your back. So one of the tricks I always tell people if they're doing lat pull-downs, think of your hands like hooks and put your focus on your elbows. And I want you to think about pulling your elbows down. And this really helps you engage your lats as opposed to just using all arm. So this is a little exercise to get that to kind of click so you can get a feel for what that's like. So we're gonna take a lighter band because I want you to, this isn't about building strength here. This is about learning to develop mind-muscle connection and really connect with your back, those lats, and feel what the right technique feels like. And I tell people all the time, you need to learn to feel when you're training. That's how you're gonna learn how to engage muscles. So I'm gonna loop this around the same way. And we're gonna come all the way down to the floor. And all we're gonna do is loop the band under our elbow. Just like that. Loosely grab the band here. We're not gonna pull from our hand. We're just wrapping our hand to stabilize it. And what I want you to do is pull your elbow down, all the way down towards your side. Pull, 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 pull as low as you can. And I want you to feel your lats really engage there. Pull those shoulder blades down and back, just like we did with our active hangs. Think about the same thing. Pull the shoulder blade down, back, and pull that elbow down. So the reason we went nice and light with these is, again, this isn't a muscle building exercise. This is a mind-muscle connection thing. So we're gonna do 2 sets of 20 reps. Why 20 reps? Because if I told you to do 10 reps, you're gonna have a tendency to go with a heavy band and then you're gonna try to muscle it. I don't want you to muscle it. I want you to learn how to feel. Learn how to feel what it feels like when your lats engaged. Learn how to feel what it feels like not to just use all biceps. So that was tip number 3, and now we're gonna move on to the next one. So before we jump into the first exercise, I wanna give you a quick tip here because this is where a lot of people expend a lot of unnecessary energy or wasted energy when they're doing pull-ups. Now for me, I've got this other door on the other side, so this actually helps me a little bit because as I'm doing pull-ups, I can't swing through the other side. And that's where I see a lot of people making mistakes when they're doing their pull-ups, their body is swinging back and forth and you don't realize how much energy that you're using trying to stabilize yourself and not swing back and forth. So what I want you to really focus on is you're lowering down, really keep your core nice and tight and try to keep yourself from swinging back and forth because again, you're just gonna waste a lot of energy. And if you wanna do more pull-ups, energy is a big part of it. So don't waste energy by swinging back and forth. So you're gonna notice as I do all these tips here that I'm gonna be flat up against this door right here. So I have a little bit of advantage working in my favor. All right, so tip number 4 here. Now we've learned to engage our lats. Now we're gonna practice that with an isometric hold. So we practice passive hangs, what we should do at the very bottom of the range of motion. We don't want this passive hang, so we've got an active hang. So now we're gonna practice our isometric hold at the very top. Now, again, going back to our example of doing 10 reps, If we're gonna do 10 reps, that means we're gonna have at least a 1 second isometric hold at the top. So you need to be able to do at least a 10-second isometric hold. So that's what we're gonna practice here. We're gonna do 3 sets of a 10-second isometric hold. So coming back here, might as well start the right way. Start from an active hang. We're gonna pull up, get your chin above the bar. Remember, pull that scapula back, and we're gonna hold it here for 10 seconds. There we go. Now, when you can get to 3 sets of 10 seconds, you're ready to move on to the next step. All right, so now we are moving on to negatives or eccentrics, meaning if we're starting at the top, we got our chin above the bar, an eccentric or a negative would mean that we're lowering ourselves down. We are 20 to 30% stronger in an eccentric contraction than we are in a concentric, meaning when we lower ourselves, it's 20 to 30% easier. So even if you can't get 10 reps in a concentric, 10 reps pulling yourself up to the top, you might be able to do 10 reps of lowering yourself down. So this is still controlling your own body weight, and this is making you stronger. And you can actually assist yourself, not with bands yet, we're almost there. We're gonna use something else. We're gonna use a chair. Now, depending on where you're at, you can use a chair. If you're in a gym, a lot of gyms have boxes for box jumps. Whatever you can stand on to help you out and get above the bar. Now this bar is actually pretty low, so we're just gonna kind of have to fake it for an example here. So, plus it's a swivel chair, which makes it extra challenging. So, stand on the chair, get yourself in position into that same isometric hold that we were in before, and now I want you to count to 3 on the way down. 1, 2, 3. Well, actually my knees are on the chair now. I need a lower chair. Now what I want you to focus on here is doing 3 sets of these. Now you're gonna do these until failure. What does that mean? Well, that means controlling it those 3 seconds. So you're gonna pull back up to the top, control it a 3 count all the way down, and when you can't control it anymore and you just kind of fall back down, that's failure. So I want you to do 3 sets of those going to failure. You'll rest for about 2 minutes in between. Now, if you can get all the way to 10 reps times 3 sets, man, you're definitely ready to move on to the next step. All right, so now we've finally moved on to doing assisted pull-ups with the bands. Why did I wait until the very end? Well, first of all, I want you, when you're fresh and when your energy is high, to do all these other exercises where you're actually having to carry your own body weight. Now at this point, we're really fatigued. Now we're gonna try to put it all together. So we're gonna go from an active hang all the way up to the top, an isometric hold, and we're gonna go through the full range of motion, do good controlled technique using the bands. Now, if we didn't use the bands, you would just try to do anything you could just to get those reps, and all the form, all the technique that we've just learned might go out the door. So by using the bands, it's gonna promote better form here. So to set ourselves up, just to go back to the beginning, remember you're gonna loop it around the bar. If you've never done these before, what you wanna do is put your foot right in the bottom of the band, and you're gonna step on it just like that. Bring your other foot behind, lock it in there, and now the band is going to assist us. So remember, active hang, we're not gonna go into a passive hang. So nice active hang, pull those shoulder blades back, pull down with the elbows, nice squeeze at the top, activate those lats, control it back down. Now, the reason I don't want you just doing pull-ups with these is because look how much they can help me. I can totally let go here with one hand. So these bands are very strong and can take a lot of weight off. So you're kind of fooling yourself if you come in here and you do 3 sets of pull-ups using these bands. It feels good, you're going through the motions, but it's not really making you better at pull-ups. So that's why I want you to learn all the components of a proper pull-up and get stronger at the same time and learn to control your own body weight. That's what's gonna make you better at pull-ups, not just using bands. So, like I said, I'm a big fan of bands. I'm not trying to rhyme here, but there's a right way to learn pull-ups, and that's by doing pull-ups. Okay, so putting it all together here. So step number one, you want to make sure you don't waste a lot of energy swinging back and forth. So stabilize your core, don't waste energy. Number two, you want to go ahead, practice your active hang. So at the bottom of your reps, don't just hang there at the bottom. You're going to waste a lot of energy even trying to get back into an active position. So a lot of wasted energy. Again, if you want to do more pull-ups, you don't want to waste energy sitting there hanging. You think you're resting, but you're not. You're making it harder on yourself. So that's step number two. Number three, don't pull with your hands. Think about engaging your back, so meaning pulling with your elbows. Really engage those lats there. And then it's not just about doing more reps just for the sake of doing more reps. We're trying to also increase strength. So make sure you're controlling those negatives as well. At least when you're in the phase of trying to build strength, doing those negatives is going to help make you stronger at doing your pull-ups. Then we can come in, we can bring it all together, use the bands to do assisted pull-ups, and bring it all together, use really good technique. Now, when you get to a point where you can do 10 reps on your own, you don't need to use the assisted bands or do the assisted pull-ups anymore. But there's actually a really cool technique how you can get even better at doing pull-ups. And maybe you want to move on to the next phase. Maybe you want to learn how to do something really explosive like a muscle up. To do a muscle up is not just a pull-up, you've got to be very explosive. So I'm going to show you one more bonus tip here, how to use resistance bands to go to that next level with your training. Okay, so we're moving into our bonus tip here. Now we've used the bands for assisted pull-ups. Now we're going to do the exact opposite. You're ready at this stage to go ahead and add a little bit of resistance, and we're going to use what's called linear variable resistance, which is what resistance bands create, meaning the more you stretch them, the harder they get. So at the bottom of the range of motion when we're doing our pull-up, we have less resistance, and as we pull towards the top here, it's going to stretch the band and create more resistance. And what this is also going to do is allow us to train more explosively here, because I could tie a weight around my waist and I could do pull-ups that way. But with weights, just like if I were doing dumbbells, you can use momentum. Once that weight is in motion, the momentum robs you of resistance. Now with resistance bands, you can't create that kind of momentum here. So it's great for doing any kind of explosive training. And that's exactly our goal here. If we want to do things, like I said, a muscle up, which requires explosive strength, that's what we want to develop. So I'm going to take this extra heavy band off the door. You can see that one's extra heavy. That took about at least 70 pounds of weight off when I was doing those pull-ups. You saw me hanging from one hand, so you could tell it made it pretty easy. So, and I'm not suggesting that you use an extra heavy. I think that going back to doing our reps, the ultimate goal is to do 10 really good assisted pull-up reps. So if you use this extra heavy and those 10 reps are too easy, I would want you to go down in resistance until 10 was really, really challenging. So we want to try to get 10, but not do 10 really easy. So there is no magic answer based on your weight, based on the band, because it's a combination of the amount of resistance in the band, your weight, plus your strength. So there is no perfect answer. You just have to experiment with it. A lot of people like to reference charts. Charts are a great starting point, but again, you're just going to have to learn by feel and train by the reps and say, okay, I know that I want to hit 10, but I don't want to be able to go past 10. So anyway, that is the extra heavy. I'm moving down to a much smaller band. This one is a medium right here. And what I'm going to do, simply step through the band, and I'm going to anchor it to a dumbbell. I'm just using a dumbbell to anchor it. If you had some other way to do it, if you had a kettlebell, you could tie it around a kettlebell, totally up to you. And I'm just going to drop this right under the bar here. And we're going to be doing a regular pull-up, but we're going to be doing these a little more explosively, meaning a little bit faster. This is what it's going to look like. Now, notice I'm doing them explosively towards the top to develop maximum power and explosive strength, but I'm still controlling my negative. Always control those negatives. One, it's going to make you stronger. Two, it's also going to help avoid injury. We don't want to hurt ourselves here. So controlling those negatives has a benefit on both sides. Less injury and also building more strength. So if you want to start building some explosive strength and use this as an intermediate step into moving towards exercises, like I said, doing a muscle up, this is a great exercise and a way to use bands with pull-ups. So those are all our tips for how to go from not being able to do pull-ups very well to building that strength, that grip strength, engaging your back, not swinging our body, learning to really control those negatives, and then moving on to the next steps, which of course is going to be doing some of this explosive training and moving on to doing all the cool stuff that you see all the calisthenic superstars doing. So maybe that next superstar is you. I'm James Grage. This has been Resistance Band Training. I'll see you next video.